And we're live.
Good morning. We are live with our guest, Natasha. And I'm actually realizing, one, am I echoing big time?
You were, but yeah, if we just wing it, it should be.
Okay. And two, Tim, this is our first time doing a Sunday show, right?
Yes, it is. This is the first Sunday.
So we decided that we might try to go live on a Sunday because we have enough American guests that the weird 8-hour time difference between America and UK could be odd. So we thought we'd try going live on a Sunday. And now, Natasha, you're our first Sunday guest. So welcome to our live show. Natasha is someone who is very active in social media. She's an author and a copywriter, and we're going to have a lot of fun chatting about getting things published, what that looks like, what she does with copywriting, what even that is, why you might need one. So welcome, Natasha.
Hi, excited to be here. This is my first live interview, so it's kind of chaotic.
We're like, you can see, we're like super casual and you can't mess this up, really. We had a guest walk off one time.
He was an ADHD expert. So
he was our ADHD expert, and he just walked. It wasn't like he didn't get angry and storm off. It was like total ADHD moment. There he was. Bye.
Yeah, I've got to talk to my girlfriend, and he wandered off. So, that's kind of the bar. The bar's pretty low. So,
Natasha, tell us where you are in the United States.
In Minnesota.
You're in Minnesota, the south of Minnesota, southern Minnesota, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Why social media and who you are?
Okay, so I started writing a few years ago, and someone was like, if you're going to be a writer, you need to be on Twitter. And I had no clue what I was doing when I first started. But in a little over 2 years, I've gained a following of over 50,000 people, which is kind of crazy. So then I started, like a year ago, I started doing social media management for other people. Actually, it was just one of my followers messaged me and was like, hey, can you run my account and grow it too? And I was like, give it a shot. And so now I have several clients that I do that for, and then copywriting, explaining that. So copywriting is like having somebody write for you so they can do blog posts or white papers or the copy that's on your website or product sell sheets for companies. There's so many different areas to do copywriting in. I've even done like scripts for people. Like I'm pretty much like a jack of all trades when it comes to that. I'm like I haven't done this before, but sure, I'll try it. Why not? See how it goes. And then I'm even ghostwriting a book for an attorney right now on Section 230. So
yeah. So you're freezing up a little bit there occasionally, but
sorry.
Could you what would you say are the biggest things that you learned as a copywriter? Like what do people do wrong in their writing when they're writing like their website copy, for example? What's the kind of biggest thing they get wrong?
I think that too often they're not they're focusing too much on themselves and not what they can do for somebody else. And having a website is usually to promote your business or whatever. So you need to make the content pull somebody in as far as like, oh, this is what they can do for me. And they need to gear that content towards their audience rather than being like, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. Where does... Oh, Tim, did I cut you off?
No.
Where does I like to ask this question because it's something that I know is powerful, and several writers and even brand influencers kind of talk about this. Where does the power of story come into copywriting and telling a powerful story in the selling of what you do and compelling your audience?
You know, it really depends on what you're doing copywriting for, because sometimes there was one client I had that, you know, it was all products, and I tried to kind of like tell a little story in the sell sheet, and they were like, no. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of not fun, because I felt like if they would have went with my way, it would have helped them more. But it's you can tell a story very shortly and concisely in copy that still draws people in and makes them connect with something from their personal life. And it can be super simple and super easy, like, you're not going to find answers in the fridge, or something like that, that everybody's like, oh, you're so right. That will connect with them.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's switch back to the Twitter side of things, because you're quite active on Twitter. What if anybody was starting to grow a Twitter account, what advice would you give them if they're looking to build themselves a Twitter account with people who actually care about what they do?
Okay, so I lost some of that. You cut out for a minute, but I think you're just asking for
growing a Twitter account.
Growing Twitter account. So, I mean, the most important thing is to just engage with other people as much as possible. Comment on other people's posts. If people comment on your posts, reply to them. Follow all the people that comment on your posts. They'll probably follow to build a genuine following and relationship, because you don't want just empty followers. You don't just want to follow a bunch of random accounts and not interact with them, because those people don't care about what you're doing. You follow the people that are like interacting with you and comment on their stuff, and that's how you build and grow. And that's the most important thing. I think asking questions is always good, because that's something someone can quickly, like, if they're on their lunch break and they pull up Twitter and there's something that's asking a question, that people want to respond to that. If you think about what you comment on and then kind of gear your content towards that, that will help immensely.
Yeah.
And you have quite engaged people on your account. I mean, you're very much developing relationships, engaging people. How does one who is just jumping onto Twitter and thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to not only grow followers, but I want to create engaging content. How did you figure that out? Like, what was your thing?
I mean, they could hire me. But apart from that, just, interacting with people. And I guess the best way, if you have like no following and you're just starting, obviously you're interacting and following, and then just paying attention to the types of posts that get the most interactions, and kind of phrasing things in that way. Like, obviously don't try to be funny if you're not funny, but that doesn't always, that backfires sometimes. But witty things, just, I'm super random, so that works for me, but I'm just completely myself. And I think that's the number one thing, is just being authentic and genuine with who you are. And that's how you can connect with the people that are for you. And that's how you find your people, is just by being yourself.
Yeah. How do you do this if a client hires you, how do you transfer that into doing this for a client?
So I just try to kind of get inside their head. Like, I have them send me, and if they're a writer, I have them send me information about their genre, what they're writing, and I have them interest, because I want it to be as genuinely them as I can. I have a degree in psychology, so that probably factors into it, but I just try to kind of like step into the role of who they are as I tweet for them. Because so somebody okay, so I'm managing an account that does a lot of like gaming and Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons at all, but I'm just like, I'm going to go with this. And like the first tweet I did for them was just like simple. It was like, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? And it got like hundreds of, it's just, some of it's just really easy, and it's easier than people make it out to be.
Yeah.
I think people stress over it too much.
Are you only on Twitter, or have you tried any other social media networks? And
so Twitter is probably my favorite, just because it's fun and it's words, because as a writer, words are my ball game. So Instagram is a little bit harder because it's more pictures, and half the time people don't even read the captions. Facebook is my least favorite because it's all people I know. So it's like, I don't really want to interact with you guys. I don't know. LinkedIn is a little bit more not as fun. I don't know.
It's very,
but I'm on all of them.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is very professional and very, well, I don't know, Tim, maybe you can tell us more about LinkedIn, but do you find LinkedIn to be more like your professional face and have to less personality, maybe?
It's less than it was, but it's still a bit. I mean, it's the platform that I always feel I should go on, but I never do. So
that's what I keep hearing too. Like, Christelle, you need to be on. I never could figure LinkedIn out. Like, I tried.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay, so Tim, are you okay with me asking, getting away from the social media and all that? I'm curious about, maybe it is a little bit about social media, but why social media versus anything else? Like, what captured your attention to go to social media as a career?
So I didn't plan to go to social media as a career at all. I didn't even plan on doing copywriting. So it just kind of lines up for me, I guess, in a way. So I started writing. I've wanted to be a writer my entire life. And for the longest time, I told myself I couldn't be a writer. I needed to do this. I needed to make passion. I put it aside. And, you know, I mean, I was a single mom for a long time, working 2 jobs, and just, there was no time. And then over the past couple of years, I just was like, this is what I want to be doing, and I need to be doing it. I don't want to wait until I retire and I'm old to write my first book. And like, that was just like a very depressing, like soul crushing kind of thought. So I'm like, I'm just going to start. I'm just going to start, and I'm going to see what happens. And I started a blog myself. And then I found Elephant Journal. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's kind of a big online blog, and they have all different kinds of stories, personal essays mostly. But so I started writing on there, and that was really confidence boosting because they liked my stories and my content. And then somebody found me from that site and asked me to do copywriting for them. So they asked me to do a few things for their Instagram page. I was like, sure. And then it just kind of went on from there. And then I was like, well, I don't like my job and I don't want to do my job anymore. I want to do this. So kind of saved up, figured out a plan, and was like, okay, I've got a couple months and this is what I'm going to try to do. If I fail, then I have to do something else, but let's just give it a shot. And so I did. And it's just kind of opened a lot of doors, and it's really feels like when you start to do what you're really meant to do, if you take that first step, that the path just kind of appears for you. And that's what it really has been for me. And so I also, I've started writing my first book, which I finished in February, but I'm going through and combing and editing and revising and adding and everything else. But I also started writing my second book in July at almost 35,000 words in. So it's been a wild ride, but it's been a fun adventure. So the social media aspect, I'm sorry, I'm kind of ADD and all over the place and going off on tangents. But the social media aspect, like I said, it was just somebody asked me to do it. And I was like, And I started with like 4,000 followers, and I've gotten him to over 13,000 since working with him. And so I'm like, well, I can do this for other people as part of my business. And
yeah.
But social media is so important, I think, as a writer, because how else are you going to, especially when there's so many writers out there right now.
Mm-hmm. How are you going to connect with your audience?
And there's so many publishing these days and everything else. Like, you have to be able to stand out. And where else could you stand out? Especially during a pandemic. It's not like you're doing all these signings and readings and shows or whatever people are doing.
Absolutely. Well, what captured my attention with you, Natasha, was your article. There's an article that you had. I don't know if it's still pinned as your pinned tweet, but you wrote, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like Powerful Woman one.
Yeah, it was, she doesn't need to be saved. She just needs someone who's not afraid of the fire.
Tell us about that. Will you tell us kind of your heart around that? Because that's what captured my attention with you. And I think I've heard it a couple times, but
yes.
That.
So that's actually my most popular by like 80,000 people. And I really wrote it about myself. I just was like, it's kind of like, this is how I need to be loved. This is how I feel. This is me. And it was so shocking how many people that resonated with, both men and women. So a lot of women were just like, oh my God, this is me. She is me. And it's like, we all think that we're so different, but I think ultimately we're so much alike. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from that, was like, I didn't think that it would connect with so many people. Because I was just writing about myself.
Maybe we'll share the link in the comments so that people know what I'm talking about. Did you say, is it still pinned to your Twitter account, or is it? No,
it's not. But it is. My website's pinned, and it's on my website as an example, a writing example. So it is there. Otherwise, just on Elephant Journal. If you go to my page on Elephant Journal, it lists all my articles, and that's one of them. But maybe I'll share it out after our conversation. Just
share it so we can see it. It's a great, and you talk a lot about, you don't give details, but you talk about a lot about your story and how you've kind of risen from ashes per se, and kind of your journey a little bit, even in your tweets. And I think that's what people probably resonate with as well. We can say, I'm not alone. There's other people who understand this. And there's someone else who can walk with me through this, kind of. I mean,
yeah.
And that is powerful, I think, as women and men.
I mean, that's kind of what overall is, we all go through really hard things, and we all have really low times in our life. And I think the most important thing is just not to stay there, and to try to like get out of it and get back up and heal and grow and learn from those things, rather than just letting them defeat you.
Yeah. On that note, I'm going to go there. What people often say that Twitter can be quite a toxic place at times. How do you deal with the nasty people on Twitter and social media in general?
Actually, I don't know if I saw any of my tweets prior to this, but gosh, it's like when I first joined, I never had any of that. But the more my account grows, the more hate I get slung at me. It's like that song, people throw rocks at things that shine. It's like the bigger I get, the more people want to pull me down. And I consider myself a very kind person.
Yeah.
And I don't like fighting with people or engaging in that. Sometimes you have to address it. You have no choice. I try to do that as gracefully as I can. Sometimes my temper gets the best of me too, when people attack you, who you are, or what you stand for as a person. But it's just trying to not let that in here, not let it get to you, because their problem is with themselves. And I think that's what everyone needs to be mindful of when that happens, because it happens. It happens like weekly, at least for me now, is that there are people who are just really miserable with themselves, and all they have to bring them joy, which is really sad, is to try to bring other people down. So just trying to keep that in mind and not let it bring you down, because that's the goal. It's in your head.
You're very open about your family. I love when you talk about your family, and I do follow you actually on Instagram. So you get a little bit more personal over on Instagram, which is really cute. You get to see your pictures and all that. But you are open about just the funny mom things that happen and the funny like husband things that happen, just like little tiny things that everyone can relate to. One, does your husband follow you on Twitter?
No.
I love this. And two, like, tell us about that. Tell us about like that fun that you have, just engaging your audience.
Yeah, I mean, I missed part of what you said, but after you said, does your husband follow you? And I said, no, but he can look at it anytime he wants to. I mean, all you'd have to do is Google it. I know there was one time I said something about him talking more than anyone in the world or something. Like, my husband talks more than anybody I know, and like in an annoying way. And he was like, you need to take that down. I was like, I was being funny, but I didn't mean to offend. But I think it's important to show people that you're a real person. And, you know, I mean, my kids are hilarious and ridiculous at times. They're both girls. They are fire-breathing dragons. And I don't know. I know there was times where I posted a picture of my daughter and somebody was like, you need to take that off of here because of it's the world we live in. You shouldn't have that. And it's like, it's really sad that we have to live in that kind of world. So I don't usually share. I share more pictures and stuff on Instagram just because it's a little bit more private. But I think showing people that you have a family, you go through the same things that they do, and just putting, one time I tweeted like toddlers are assholes. I think everybody can relate to that because they are.
That's true. Tim, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Well, we're coming towards the end of the interview, but I haven't asked people this question for a while. If you had to describe yourself using 3 animals, what 3 animals would you pick?
Do they have to be real animals?
Anything.
Animals you like.
I'm gonna go with Phoenix. And lioness.
Is there a second animal there?
I think we cut out. I think we cut something out. Yeah.
Unicorn.
Oh, you know what's so funny is I was about to say unicorn, and you were probably saying it, and I was thinking it. That's that's awesome.
Yeah,
I actually have this like animal spirit tarot deck.
Yeah.
And which is just kind of fun. But I always end up when I pull a card for myself, it's always like not real animals. That's why I said that, because I always get like dragon or phoenix or sea serpent, and I'm and there's a whole bunch of real animals, but I always get like the spirit animals. It's just kind of fun.
That they kind of resonate symbolically with us. Natasha, where can our audience find you on social media? What is your website? What is your Twitter handle?
My website is just natashalink.com. Pretty easy. My Twitter handle, I think if you just search Natasha Link, you can find me. If not, it's Natasha CL7 at Natasha CL7. And then Instagram is Natasha Link Freelance. And then I do have a Facebook writer page as well, which is just Natasha Link Freelance Writing, I think.
Okay. And we should be watching for your book.
Yes.
You'll be tweeting it out. You'll be Facebooking it out, I'm sure.
Oh,
will it be in the coming months? Do you have plans?
I'll miss it.
It'll be
I will hunt you down until you read it. No, I'm just kidding.
And Tim actually does writers. I don't know if you follow his Twitter. What is it called, Tim? Your writers?
In the author chat. That's for self-published authors on Wednesday night. Well, Wednesday.
Day our time, yeah.
Day your time, yeah.
I think it's her time would be. I think it's 2
p.m. in the afternoon Central. So yeah, you get very adept at working out time zones when you live in the UK. I think you work with people in the US. So
we're funny. Natasha, thank you for jumping on and experimenting with us on a Sunday and being so open to talk about what you do with social media and kind of engaging us. For our audience who's watching, the Scan Me right there, if you click on that, you will see Natasha's information also, I believe. Is that right, Tim?
Well, you don't click on it. Well,
oh, what do you do?
You click on it. You have to get your phone up in the camera app and scan it. That's what it's scanning. But if you're watching on YouTube in the replay, hopefully there should be a little button that appears there that lets you subscribe. So hopefully, I've never been entirely sure. I need to actually go back and watch some of them. But somewhere on the screen.
You know what? Maybe can you make it? Can you do like a fun thing where if you take the picture, like fireworks happen and music comes, or like no. Oh.
Well, unless you're prepared to go around people's houses and start launching fireworks.
Oh, okay. So like, shoo, surprise, celebrate.
Well, anyway, on that note, thank you so much for being the guest today. And we're going to play the titles, and hopefully it will all work correctly. We've had a few problems with this in the past.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, everyone.
You can hang around and chat with us after the titles, if you like.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
Cliche shit, you know.